Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Ruggero Maria Santilli. I am the chief scientist of the new clean energies technically known under the name of intermediate controlled nuclear fusion. Their first primary feature is the absence of the production of any harmful radiation, as well as the absence in the release of any radioactive nuclear waste. The second important feature is that they are truly controlled, because they are controlled via the control of the power, the pressure, the temperature, the flow, the trigger, and a number of other engineering means. The third important feature is that of being intermediate, in the sense of having energy which is intermediate between the very high energy of so-called hot fusion and the very low energy of the so-called cold fusion. The study for this new energy initiated in 1978, when I was a member of Harvard University under financial support from the US Department of Energy. The achievement of this new energy required the conception and development first of basically new mathematics, then basically new physics, and only thereafter we were in a position to finally pass to actual construction, engineering construction and test. The reason for this very laborious scientific effort is that all energy that could be conceived via Einstein's special relativity and relativistic quantum mechanics were fully known by the middle of the 20th century. And they were known to be environmentally unacceptable because of the release of highly radioactive waste, nuclear waste, or various other environmentally unacceptable features, as demonstrated by the recent radiation catastrophe in Japan. And a technical reason for this new basic advances in mathematics and physics and then engineering is essentially due to the fact that Einstein's special relativity, relativistic quantum mechanics, quantum chemistry, and all sciences of the 20th century are reversible over time. Namely, they admit both events evolving in our direction of time as well as in their time image. And this was a necessary feature for the system for which those theories were developed, such as the structure of the hydrogen atom and many other systems. However, all energy-releasing processes are known to be irreversible over time. Namely, their time reversal image violates causality, violates energy conservation and many other laws. Therefore, it was known since the second part of the 20th century that Einstein's special relativity, quantum mechanics, and quantum chemistry were not conceived for, nor the best possible the method for the conception, development of new energy. So the need for developing this basically new mathematics, physics, chemistry, and experimental studies also illustrates the long period of time that it took to develop this new energy, as well as the large investment that was initiated with 5 grants from the Department of Energy, and then was followed by a number of private individuals, both American and Italians, and other investors. Following this laborious effort for over 30 years, finally we were in a position to initiate tests in 2009. The tests were continued for several months, and finally in early 2010 we finally submitted for publication in a referee journal the first paper on the new energy, the paper that was accepted, and it is listed in the first transparency of this movie. This first paper essentially dealt with this first reactor. The reactor is called hadronic reactor because it was conceived, tested, developed, and designed via the law, not of quantum mechanics, no, but via the laws of the covering hadronic mechanics. That technically is a non-unitary irreversible generalization of quantum mechanics. The purpose of this first hadronic reactor was very, very specific, to show the existence of this intermediate controlled nuclear fusion, and it was done by the synthesis of the nitrogen. The measurements were repeated systematically, and then they were independently verified by a team of nuclear physicists from Princeton, New Jersey, who published an independent paper verifying the three primary features of this new fusion, namely, feature number one, complete absence in the production of harmful radiation and complete absence in the release of radioactive waste, nuclear waste. Feature number two that was confirmed by this team was that indeed the control of the energy by the control of the power, the pressure, the temperature, other way. And third feature that was controlled is the intermediate character, therefore novelty, in between the so-called hot and cold fusion. The results by this team of independent nuclear physicists was submitted for publication in a referee journal, was accepted due extensive review. It was published, and it is listed in the published literature at the beginning of this presentation. To provide you a perspective, in the first systematic test by using the first hadronic reactor that you can see here, we established the existence of the new class of nuclear fusion without harmful radiation. This was established via the mere measurement beyond doubt of excess heat, namely of heat produced clearly in excess of the used electric energy. So much clear in excess that the test had to be stopped after 2 minutes of operation, otherwise there will be a meltdown of the reactor. Following the positive results of via this first hadronic reactor, then we decided, and we did build the second hadronic reactor that you can see here, that will be described in detail in a moment. What I want to indicate at this moment, that the purpose of this film is essentially to have a record that not only we have an excess of heat, but in reality we also produce steam. So essentially the purpose of this movie is to have a record that we have moved from just production of unused heat, we have moved to the production of a steam via the use of the new energy. There is a third reactor under construction that this time will use steam to produce electric energy. And it will be presented at the appropriate future time. At this moment, I am not authorized to disclose it for a variety of reasons that, of course, are confidential. So, in conclusion, today what we essentially will show is the description, first of all, a summary description of the new reactor, including the automatic control that will be described to you in more detail by our electric engineer, Michael Rodriguez. Also the reactor itself that will be described to you in more detail by our mechanical engineer, Chris Lynch, as well as the operation described to you by our engineer, Gene West. But following this description, the main purpose of this movie is to show you the transition from the pure production of heat, unutilized heat with the first reactor, to the production of steam of the second reactor. I should emphatically indicate that the measurements of the produced heat are not possible macroscopically at this stage for a variety of reasons that in any case is not our objective. Our objective is to produce electricity in excess of the use of electricity. That is our objective. We have no interest in measuring heat. No. However, if there are people interested in data such as production of heat, etc., that production can be calculated from the chemical analysis. In other words, each and every test is done under a large variety of chemical analysis conducted by outside independent laboratory. Those chemical analysis includes, for instance, the gas before and after, as well as chemical analysis on solids, on the electrodes before and after. The comparison of those two, the gaseous or the solid phase, established very clearly the production, the synthesis of new element that did not exist before. Not only did they establish the existence, but also those chemical analysis provide the number of synthesized new element. Once you know the number of synthesized new element, then since we know the energy produced in the synthesis very well is tabulated, then it's very easy to compute the energy produced, I should say, by the nuclear fusion. So at this moment we have no interest whatsoever in measuring data. Our objective again is to produce electricity via use. I want to show the production of steam. The next report, that will be when I am authorized to disclose the third hadronic reactor, the next report will be the use of steam to produce electricity. After that, we will be interested at that stage in doing actual measurement following all sorts of dissipations, etc. As you know, measuring the heat in an environment which is under very large dissipation is extremely difficult, and I do not see much of an interest, since this is a very, very specific target. This project has a very, very specific target, namely production of new clean energy via nuclear fusion that are controlled and are without any production of harmful radiation and without any release of radioactive waste. That is our objective, and that's what we are moving toward very, very strongly and as fast as we reasonably can, particularly in view of the radiation disaster in Japan that has become a question of ethics, and personally for me to accelerate this plan beyond the limit of my personal capability.
Hello, my name is Michael Rodriguez. I'm the electronic engineer for the hadronic reactor. This is the control panel that operates the hadronic reactor. It monitors the pressure, the temperature, the power, and the flow, as well as other aspects of the reactor. In the event of any malfunction, the panel will automatically shut off the reactor. This is a view of the interior and the electronics of one of our control panels.
Hi, my name is Chris Lynch. I'm the mechanical engineer of the hadronic reactor. Right, the basic description of the machine: it's a pressure vessel with electrodes inside, surrounded by a water jacket. Water comes in here and exits here and out the other pipe as steam. We're going to show you a test where we're going to pull a vacuum in the vessel, and then we're going to fill it with helium, and then start the arc and observe the steam coming out of the machine. Right now we've got the vacuum pump hooked up to the interior of the vessel, and it's pulling the vacuum from the vessel right now. Okay, we've completed pulling a vacuum on it, and now we're going to pressurize the vessel with helium. Alright, now the helium is being introduced to the vessel.
As presented in the various papers that we have published in referee journals that are available in free PDF download in the first transparency of this presentation, we have released to the public scientific community three controlled intermediate nuclear synthesis. The first was the synthesis of nitrogen from deuterium and carbonium. The second, verified independently by a number of qualified nuclear physicists, has been the second test has been the synthesis of silica from carbon and oxygen. In this test today, we will show you the synthesis of oxygen from helium and carbon. The main point of all those three syntheses is the following, that either this synthesis occur, in which case there cannot be any release of harmful radiation or release of radioactive waste, because we are talking about the transition from the original light, natural and stable element into final elements that are also light, natural and stable under the verification of all nuclear conservation laws and other laws in nuclear physics, as ethically sound scientists can verify independently. So either the synthesis occur, in which case there cannot be any release of any harmful radiation, or those nuclear syntheses do not occur. And in the latter case too, there cannot be any release of any radioactive radiation or nuclear waste. And the reason is very simple, because the energy that we are using here, that of a relatively small EC-DC converter, that converter has an energy which is millions and millions of times short of the energy necessary to smash the nuclei, so that equivocal nuclear physicists against clean nuclear energy are happy. No, there is not enough energy to create those harmful radiations. The lack of emission of any harmful radiation and the absence in the release of any radioactive nuclear waste has been tested and verified systematically for years in all tests. Interested colleagues can see a presentation by Professor Yin in level 5 of world-lecture-series.org. Here we just have a number of detectors just to confirm the absence of any harmful radiation or the release of any radioactive waste.
I'm Gene West. I'm an engineer, hydronic reactor. I will be monitoring these gauges for the control system so that we can have a precautionary in case we have a problem with anything. The gauges are here.